So that mask tells us that Leonardo was born on April 15, 1452, son of Piero da Vinci, notary in Vinci, and of a slave named Katrina. That he was self-taught, that between 10 and 14 years was a pupil of Verrocchio, that he moved to Milan in 1482 to serve Ludovico the Moor. This is what we're told. The strength of this book here is that all these reconstructions that I'm making are supported by detailed documentation that clash with the narrative that is instead dogmatic. And so let's analyze them. The date of birth of Leonardo is fixed by Vasari, the Pagave, and D'Agranville between 1443 and 45. And they are the most authoritative biographers of Leonardo. Vasari lived in the 16th century and the other two in the 18th. This is because when Leonardo dies, he is described as being over 70 years old, or over 75 years old, and consequently his date of birth is derived. The only one with the personal experience, because he's the only one who saw Leonardo in life, is Antonio de Beatis, who served the Cardinal of Aragon. He went in 1517 to meet Leonardo in Amboise, just before he died, 2 years before. In 1517, by direct testimony, Leonardo was more than 70 years old. Let's make it 71. So this means that Leonardo at least was born in 1446. This information comes from who has seen him personally. So, how do we get to place Leonardo's birth in 1452 and to link him back to Sir Piero in Vinci? Again, we have a problem. They have. The life of Leonardo and all the greatest painters and architects of his time are all told and narrated based on what Vasari wrote in his lives. In 1568, under the privilege and license of Pius V and Cosimo I de' Medici. In there we find written, "Truly admirable and celestial was Leonardo, son of Sir Piero da Vinci, and the erudition and principle of literature. He would have made great profit if he had not been so inconstant and unstable. He's a good kid, but does not commit." Everything here is written with the privilege and license of Pius V and Cosimo I de' Medici. Be careful when you hear about the Medici family. It's really like talking about the Magnani, mine family. My brother and I are distinct individuals. The Medici of the 16th century are not the Medici of the 15th century. So let's not make of the Medici family the same brush. So let's have a look at who Pius V was. He was the third Dominican Pope of history, General Inquisitor of Lombardy, great supporter of the Jesuits and of Cardinal Borromeo, who is the one replacing the Sforza in Milan. In 1571, he created the Index Librorum Probitorum, that is the index of all books that can be read or not. Careful, it's 1571, but the order was then cancelled only in the 1960s. In this index ended up people like Dumas, the father, and Dumas the son. To realize what I mean? To realize what censorship means. He named Cosimo I as Grand Duke of Tuscany. When you go to Florence, remember that the residence of the Medici is not Palazzo Vecchio, but Palazzo Medici Riccardi. Palazzo Vecchio is the residence of Cosimo I. So today the city of Florence is celebrating a lower grade of the family. We have said that in this version of the lives, Vasari writes, "Truly admirable and celestial was Leonardo, son of Sir Piero da Vinci." Based on this description, Giovan Battista Dei, by mere presumption, thinking that Leonardo was the son of the notary in Vinci, finds in 1746, so for 3 centuries everyone thought that Leonardo was born in the 40s, but he finds an inscription on the last page of the notary's book of the alleged grandfather, an inscription which says, "On the 15th of April 1442, at 3 o'clock at night, Leonardo is born, son of Sir Piero, my nephew." And this is the reason why today we assume as date of birth the 15th of April 1452. Again, for mere presumption. But again, there are documents that speak. Because about the lives, the one of 1568 and edited by the Giunti family, but the version of the 1550, 18 years prior, and edited by Torrigiani, I think, you find the name on the book anyway, writes a completely different thing. It does not write truly admirable Celestia was Leonardo, son of Sir Piero da Vinci, but so admirable and Celestia was Leonardo, nephew of Sir Piero da Vinci, who being truly good uncle and relative to him, helped him in his youth. Again, to those who say the Vasari simply confuse uncle and nephew. Beyond the fact that it's quite anomalous that for a father he stressed the fact of being of help in the youth of a son. It seems redundant to me. In the first version of the Lives, the relationship between Leonardo and Sir Piero is for 5 times referred to as uncle and nephew. 5 times! There is more. There is another text that preceded the Lives. It's the Magliavecchiano Codex, known as the Anonymous Gadiano, made 10 years earlier, most likely, and it states, although he was not a legitimate son of Sir Piero, although he puts the stress on that, he was of his mother, born of a good blood, and again, she was not even a slave, and Sir Piero was not even the father.